Thanks for stopping by the channel. This is going to be my review or my opinion after watching Ahsoka episode number 5. So, yeah, I just saw the episode and thought I would give people my thoughts on it. I really have to say that I like this episode a lot, even though it's got quite a few problems with it. I still liked it a lot. Um, Anyways, we at the end of episode 4, we have Ahsoka basically showing Anakin there, and if you haven't already seen it, sorry for the spoiler, but we also have the baddies in their giant space ring taking off to where we expect to see Thrawn and Sabine, the Mandalorian supposed Jedi, went with them because of Ezra. And if you haven't watched Ezra, you will. Sorry, if you haven't watched Rebels, you won't know who Ezra is. But you won't know a lot of these things. Anyways, the episode is one of the things I don't like about it necessarily is it is another slow episode. It's episode 5, and we're no closer to meeting the major villain who is Thrawn at the end of this episode as we were at the start. Well, maybe a little bit closer. But we start, and you kind of understand why the Imperials uh, get to take over get to take over the Republic because boy, they're a bunch of incompetents. Anyways, they saw the big ring disappear and lost a bunch of their X-wings, and the first thing they do is go back to the planet to see if anybody's there. Okay. But yeah, they land and they're there, and of course, General Greenhead, showing that she is the one of the worst parents out there, tags along with her little kid. But he's there for a reason because he is force sensitive and he contributes to the story. So um, they spend a lot of time sort of standing around and wondering what happened to everybody. So that part is some of the weaker part. The good part is that we get from that to wherever it is that Ahsoka is supposed to be. And if you're playing the big drinking game where you take a drink every time Rosario Dawson, sorry, crosses her arms, you're gonna have to take a couple of shots during this episode. That seems to be her go-to move. She doesn't know what to do with her arms, apparently, in most of these episodes. But anyways, we get a little bit further into seeing Anakin, and of course, the de-aging software is used to make him look younger. Problem with all this de-aging stuff is they can't alter the voice, and you can hear the voice of Anakin from Hayden Christensen. He's a much older individual, and his voice is not the same voice as he would have had when he was dealing with Ahsoka as a young child. But what I really like about this episode is that after the people back on the planet spend a lot of time not knowing what the hell to do, Anakin comes up that he's going to help her with Ahsoka with her training, which I don't know. They always talk about canon in these things, and at this point in reality, Anakin would have been Darth Vader, so I don't know why she's seeing him as well. She's seeing him because that's the way she wants to think of him. But what is fantastic is they have a bit of a fight, and it's a good fight. But then Anakin destroys part of, I don't know, they call it the world between worlds. That doesn't make sense because she suddenly drops down to um, the middle of the Clone Wars. And it is quite good. She actually appears as a younger Ahsoka as well, complete with a green lightsaber, which she did have in the Clone Wars animated series. But this part is really good. It's basically ultimately Anakin's trying to teach her something, but just having the clone troopers there, and yeah, it is. Uh, the one thing I'll say about this show, it looks amazing. Disney gets criticized for their cheap CGI and a lot of stuff. This looks really good, and the young Ahsoka looks really good, and the clone troopers look really good, and they even throw in a bone to fans in they show Rex, and of course, if you haven't watched Rebels or Clone Wars, you won't know who he is, but he's a particular clone trooper that Ahsoka um, works with most of the time, and ultimately grows attached to. And go look on YouTube, Ahsoka, the end of the Clone Wars, and you'll see that they work together, even though there's the Order 66, where the evil emperor wants to kill off all the Jedi and such and such. But it just looks so damn good, and I can't help but like it a lot, a lot, I tell you. So you actually even get a bit of more of history, and you see Ahsoka feeling bad that, and finally where you would have missed if you didn't see, um, again, the animated series, that she grows through the fact that she realizes that there's a lot of dead people because of her bad decisions. So that's good. It actually gives a bit of background, again, for people who might not have seen the animated series. But again, we go off into um, a bit more of it back on the planet. In real life, the people are the kid that's there as part of a take your son to work day, I guess, actually is a bit force sensitive. Again, if you haven't watched the Rebel series, you wouldn't realize that a Jedi and the green-headed general had a kid, and he's got green hair to signify. I don't know why they do that. Um, but he's force sensitive, apparently, and shows a bit of it in that he detects that Ahsoka is still nearby. So the X-Wings go searching for her over the water, as he suggests. Now, why they fly side by each is beyond me if they're trying to search for something. But anyways, again, some of the stuff that doesn't necessarily make sense. But it jumps back and forth between that in reality, searching for Ahsoka. We'll see what happened to her after the fight that she lost, and these flashbacks, if you want to call them, to the Clone Wars. And a couple of times, again, the vision of Anakin that she's seeing is trying to teach Ahsoka something. So they get into some good lightsaber battles, and I mean, of the show, probably some of the best. Hayden Christensen, I guess, is still a fairly athletic individual, and he does very well. The scenes look good to me. Um, I would say Rosario Dawson, not quite as good as Hayden is, but it still looks good. And she finally goes back to using double lightsabers because I don't understand why. I mean, I've heard people say, oh, showing that she knows various forms, which she does because she was original a single lightsaber person. But for some reason, when she first meets Anakin in this netherworld, she fights with a single. And in the Clone Wars flashbacks, she starts with a single, which would be appropriate. As I said, it was the green, the right color. But she eventually goes to double, and they actually are on. They do a flashback on Mandalore during the battle, and you see some of the Mandalorians with the little spikes on their head, which again you would have to have watched Rebels or the Clone Wars to understand what that is. But it's basically she was part of the battle for Mandalorian, or Mandalorian. So again, I really liked it. I can't help myself. I really liked that section of it, even though I didn't see all of the Clone Wars and the Rebel series. It just, yeah, I liked it. But ultimately, they rescue Ahsoka, and she basically then again slow, um, pacing of the show, but she decides that she's gonna go after um, the big ring people because she wants to get Ezra back as well as Sabine. So what happens then is again the Republic wants the green-headed general to come back with Ahsoka, and in their vast incompetence, they didn't want to come to the planet before, but now they all rushing there with starships to have two people go back. Hmm, does not make sense. But that's part of the movie, anyways, or the picture. And ultimately, at the end, you see Ahsoka has determined that she knows how to get to Ezra, and that's using the space whales, which were in the previous episode. Um, no, actually, episode 3, and also in Rebels. But they have an ability to jump like a spaceship, like the Millennium Falcon. So she decides that she will appeal to them and have them take her off to where this the ring spaceship has disappeared to. And she crosses her arms again. So take another drink. But like, anyways, I don't want to be negative of this because I really like Ahsoka as a character and I like Star Wars a lot. And but there's been some shit Star Wars. But this episode, yeah, implausible as some of it is, God, it looks good, and it's got so much in it that I like that I definitely have to say this one is worth watching. Uh, yeah, I like it a lot. So, anyways, the Republic shows up, and in their stupidity, they get talked out of doing anything by the one X-wing fighter pilot who's from Kins. He's a Canadian from Kim's Convenience. That's how I know who he is. And Ahsoka does the Jonah and the whale thing, where she flies into one of the whales as it jumps to someplace. She has no idea where it's going to go, but she just has faith that it's going to go to the right place. And that is it. It's one of the longer episodes, but it does move at a halting pace. It jumps and is very good and very quick at some paces, but a lot of people stand around looking at instruments and looking off over the water and such, which has been a fault of this series, big time. Um, that said, again, I really like this episode. From what it gets, I guess they always talk about fan service, and in this case, it's fan service that I enjoyed. So I give it a positive review for sure. It is definitely, um, I'd have to say it's the best so far, to be honest with you. So thanks very much.